Good morning, everyone. Hello again. My name is Chancey Martorell, and I'm very pleased to be here, and I want to thank the EPA and Carlton Eley, and also the conference organizers for asking me to present today. I'm going to be presenting on the landmark Thai communities assessment that was conducted over 20 years ago. And to avoid being wonky about it, it's really about how that needs assessment encouraged community-driven policy in Los Angeles. So it's also an example of community-based participatory research, but really how it encourages community-driven policy in Los Angeles, and that will be the focus of my presentation today. Well, first of all, what was the spark? How many of you were in Los Angeles in 1992? Okay, well, I was raised in Los Angeles all my life, since the age of 4. I immigrated from Thailand, and I was certainly there at the time of the civil unrest, and that was really the spark that led to me actually conducting this needs assessment. And at the time, I was actually a grad student, second-year grad student at UCLA urban planning, and my aha moment at the time was how this civil unrest could happen in any community, particularly minority immigrant communities. And what had occurred really, I believe, was a manifestation of a history of social and economic inequities in poor minority communities throughout the city's urban core, where there were large poor minority communities. And I don't know if you were aware, but the term that was used at the time was this Brazilification of Los Angeles, which I guess now you could say it's San Franciscoification, because what we saw was the polarization between the haves and have-nots in the city of Los Angeles, where you had the white affluent communities in the suburbs and the poor minority communities in the urban areas. Police brutality, of course, compounded the problem and the history of neglect and disinvestment in these communities. And I was surprised that no one else saw this at the time, but this is what became the driver for my work as an urban planner. And I value then what assessing impacts can do, even though at the time I did not even have a roadmap. I was focusing on understanding the needs as a means to address the problems rather than the symptoms. And so we saw then this massive marshaling of resources to rebuild LA, but yet not every community was benefiting from those investments and resources, including the Thai community, which had also been adversely impacted by the civil unrest. And that was because we continued to face this invisibility factor as a community. So what were the needs? And at the time, as you know, Thai community was trying to overcome this invisibility factor and marginalization, though our immigration history went back 50 years. The need then I identified was we needed to, first of all, document the existence and the presence of the Thai community. And what should we do to do that is to first document their demographics, their social and human service needs, their socioeconomic characteristics, and then once we've had all of these areas identified, this then documentation would serve as an advocacy tool for us to go and ask for some policy changes and for some resources. And so what this is really about is the need and the assessment of need, and how needs impact assessment or the needs assessment can work as a way to inform public policy and raise the visibility of an invisible community. And I'm so glad today's discussion is on social impact assessment, because this represents the sort of the backstory of what was accomplished in Los Angeles Thai community. And of course, I like the idea, the fact that it's focusing on citizen ingenuity and impact assessment. So we had surveyed the community. I trained a group of Thai American college students around collecting of data and survey instruments and analyzing the data, the findings, etc. And I'm just going to focus on one area for this presentation because essentially there's no time to go through everything that we have found in our data. First of all, we came to the realization that there are a plethora of needs, and they are in various areas, the areas of health, the areas of income, and the areas of also need for access to access economic opportunities and opportunities for economic self-sufficiency and what have you. And so what I'm going to focus on is really how we could harness this data and try to create an opportunity within an area in Los Angeles, in Hollywood, East Hollywood namely, to create Thai Town as an economic development strategy using cultural tourism that would provide an opportunity for people to take charge of the development process more fully, that will allow people to really use the opportunity to build their community, because this is where it matters most, right? The community bear the burden of what happens to the community, so there should be the prevailing voice, and it's just a matter of simple justice. So we did a lot of charrettes, we did a lot of workshops and focus groups, and came up with an economic development strategy based on cultural tourism that would improve the financial well-being of economically disadvantaged people in the area, emphasizing exchange and equity, and focusing on the community's current skills and abilities, and trying to improve their economic and social strength, and developing resources that would nourish households and neighborhoods. And entrepreneurship certainly plays a role, because over the 50-year history of Thai community, being in that one part of Los Angeles, they're fairly dispersed in LA, but there's a major concentration in Hollywood. There's been a proliferation of Thai-owned businesses, and the Thai immigrant workforce is an integral part of that local economy. So we then mobilized the community, convened all kinds of meetings, recruited individuals to participate in this Thai Town Formation Committee, which would serve as the representative body to campaign for the designation of Thai Town. So the result at the end of this protracted campaign that took about 7 years to obtain the designation of Thai Town in '98 really included the fact that we were able to not just, one, overcome the invisibility factor, let the city know that we have a presence, we exist, and we have these needs that are going unmet, and it also highlighted the essentially desire for a community to preserve its cultural integrity in this ethnically diverse area. The area is ethnically diverse. We have in the area Armenians and Latinos and Thais living side by side. But it really pushed the community to demand that they actually ask concessions, not as Thais in Thailand, but as Thais here in Los Angeles, and to do so because they need to advance their social material goals and do so as a united entity and assert their community consciousness. It was really truly a community building process, telling folks that we occupy a space associated with history. And so the whole science behind community-based research, that all of the needs assessment that we conducted in the focus group really comes down to some fundamentals here that we learned, and that all of you should always also consider when you engage in any kind of impact assessment or needs assessment. It's very important that the community is always engaged. It's a form of street science. It's a way to democratize the collection and use of data, to increase active citizenship and local leadership. And there's all kinds of reasons why it makes sense from a practitioner point of view to engage the community, because you're conducting the research with the community, not on the community. You're engaging the community. They are the ones who are sophisticated and have the insider knowledge and have a better understanding of the community. And we need to respect their wisdom. We need to make sure that also our findings at the end of the day are relevant and is rigorous and also it's community-based, community-driven process. And I'm not going to go on to go through all this because I don't have much time. But if all of you are researchers and you're out in the field doing any kind of research, just know that there are limitations if you're coming from the outside into the community because then it's outside expert-driven, and community members distrust outside researchers. You're a parachute researcher, dropping in, collecting data, disappearing, and then leaving nothing behind. So that's why it's always important to use as a core principle community-based research. It's really a systematic investigation with the collaboration of all. And there's really the end goal of using this to educate and then take action and affecting change. So I'm going to go further on. I wanted to go on the methodology that we use, recruiting members straight from the community, training them, and helping them understand how to really collect the data, analyze the data. I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but there's also a lot of pros to community engagement that I had mentioned previously. And then, and then there's also, I'm going to slow down because I think I'm going really too fast. I'm trying to make sure I don't go over time. So if I'm going too fast, I'm so sorry. But there's a lot of ground truthing that comes out of a more engaged community process. You are able to validate your findings, and your findings are, of course, more utilitarian, and there's more quality to your findings. And you're also really understanding what's happening on the ground. There are obviously a lot of challenges to community engagement in research. Sometimes it's messy, sometimes time-consuming, and fraught with challenges. Like we were always aware that it's labor-intensive. We were always aware that some folks, especially the most marginalized folks, don't understand survey methods and have limited command of the language and have severe time and income constraints. And then there's some other challenges too. I don't have time to go through yet, but these will all be available for everyone. You guys go through more at length. So our approach was community-based. We trained the community, we recruited them, we met with the community to present the findings, we organized a campaign that ended up resulting in economic development of an area that had suffered a depressed economy and neglect historically and disinvestment. And it became this advocacy tool that we were able to educate policymakers about the growing unmet needs of the community. And we were able to make this relevant to policymakers and funders and help jumpstart this data-driven community organizing and advocacy to affect change, and in the founding of Thai CDC and also in the creation of Thai Town. And so the victory at the end of the day was getting the designation in 1999, and now we can say that that we are able to use Thai Town as a method to develop the community and how we measure the success in terms of how it contributes to the overall development process of the area, satisfying basic rights for decent jobs, economic security, and decent affordable housing. We were also able to leverage more research as a result of that one needs assessment, and then a lot more research of the area, land use assessment and what have you. We're able to put in improved infrastructures and amenities resulting from the result of our survey, because it indicated the need for infrastructure improvements. So we got $1.3 million streetscaping funding that improved the whole area. And then, of course, we were able to improve and bring more services to the area, health fairs and what have you, do some of the pride and multicultural exchange and cultural tourism, like our annual festivals and culture days, and promote beautification with the gateway and the lampposts that are Thai stylized and decorative. And we've been able to also promote civic engagement with the creation of Thai Town Rotary Club, and folks now engage in a campaign to press for equitable transit-oriented development because we are in a TOD. And we were able to promote unity among diverse ethnic groups by creating this Preserve American Neighborhood coalition between the Asian Pacific American towns in Los Angeles that was a designation of the White House that now is going to cross-promote all of our Asian Pacific towns and try to use cultural and heritage marketing as a vehicle for economic development. And we've been able to improve the health and well-being of the community by now being able to start a farmers market right there at the Hollywood Western transit stop, and that farmers market takes EBTs, so we're able to make accessible fresh produce to low-income individuals and families in the area who make up the majority of the residents in the area, and do market matches where they're getting actually the doubling of their purchasing power to purchase more produce and create more economic opportunities. We will be now at the beginning of creating the Thai Town Marketplace, which will serve as a business incubator, is our first social enterprise project, and this will create entrepreneurship and promote immigrant entrepreneurship in particular, create 18 micro enterprises to create over 60 jobs while revitalizing the area, and it'll be at the Western Gateway of Thai Town. So that's where I'm going to leave it, and if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. Thank you.